What if I told you that by the time you hear the thunder, the truly critical and most bizarre part of the lightning strike has already happened right next to you? And you didn't even see it. Today we are going to deconstruct the most common and most misunderstood force of nature on Earth. And we're going to start by revealing 3 shocking truths that will change the way you look at a thunderstorm forever. Shocking truth number 1. A bolt of lightning is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Let that sink in. The surface of our sun is a searing 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit. A single lightning bolt can reach 50,000 degrees. This is not just a bright light. It is a momentary, violent tear in the fabric of our atmosphere, a celestial blowtorch that superheats the air around it into a state of matter called plasma. The thunder you hear isn't the sound of lightning, it is the sonic boom of the air literally exploding from this instantaneous, unimaginable heat. Shocking truth number 2, the lightning you see is traveling up, not down. This one is going to break your brain. We see the flash come from the cloud and strike the ground. It seems obvious, but that's an optical illusion. What's really happening is far stranger. First, the cloud sends down an invisible, faint, negatively charged scout, called a stepped leader. It zigs and zags, trying to find the path of least resistance to the ground. As it gets close, the ground responds. Positive charge from tall objects, trees, buildings you reaches up to meet it in what's called a positive streamer. When one of these streamers makes a connection, the circuit is complete. And bam! The brilliant blinding flash that we call lightning is actually the return stroke. It's a massive explosive surge of electricity from the ground shooting up to the cloud along that pre-made path at nearly 1/3 the speed of light. You are not seeing a bolt come down. You are witnessing the ground firing back with unimaginable fury. And shocking truth number 3, the direct hit you fear is not the real killer. When we think of lightning danger, we picture a single unlucky person being struck by a bolt from the sky, a lottery ticket of doom that very few people actually win. That scenario only accounts for less than 5% of lightning-related fatalities. The vast majority of victims are taken by 2 invisible killers that are far more common and far more insidious. The first is side flash. Lightning hits a tall object like a tree you're sheltering under. Your body, a bag of salt water, is a better conductor of electricity than the tree's trunk, so the lightning takes a shortcut. It jumps from the tree through you to get to the ground faster. The second and the number 1 killer is ground current. When lightning strikes the ground, the electricity doesn't just disappear. It spreads out across the surface in all directions like deadly invisible ripples in a pond. If you're standing with your feet apart, your own body becomes a bridge. The current travels up one leg through your heart and nervous system and down the other. You can be hundreds of feet away from the strike and still become a victim. Lightning is a far more complex and treacherous predator than we believe. In this video, we will deconstruct this incredible force of nature. We will go deeper into the science of why it's so hot. We will show you the physics of the return stroke, and most importantly, we will give you a simple, science-based survival guide based on the real dangers, not the myths. And here at Y-Zone 360, we believe that understanding the hidden mechanics of danger is the key to staying safe. So if you're ready to arm yourself with knowledge, hit that subscribe button, and let's deconstruct the storm. Okay, so we've established that lightning is this super hot, super fast, and super sneaky force of nature. But before we get into the crazy ways it can get you, we have to answer the most basic question of all. Where does all this incredible electrical energy even come from? How does a simple, fluffy-looking cloud turn into a planetary-scale battery floating in the sky holding millions of volts of power? You might think it's some super complex, mysterious process. To get lightning, you don't just need a rain cloud. You need a thunderstorm cloud or a cumulonimbus cloud if you want to sound fancy. These clouds are enormous. They can be miles tall, stretching high up into the atmosphere where the temperatures are well below freezing. Inside this cloud, it's not a peaceful, gentle place. It is a chaotic vertical wind tunnel. A powerful updraft of warm, moist air is constantly rushing upwards from the ground. This updraft is so strong it can carry raindrops high into the freezing cold upper parts of the cloud. And this is where the magic happens. As these raindrops are pushed up, they freeze into tiny, lightweight ice crystals. At the same time, heavier, slushy ice pellets called graupel are trying to fall down against the updraft, so now you have a violent, chaotic mix, billions of tiny, light ice crystals being blasted upwards, and billions of heavier, slushy ice pellets falling downwards. And what happens when all these tiny bits of ice collide? The same thing that happens when you rub a balloon on your hair. Static electricity. And after millions and millions of these tiny collisions, you get a giant vertical separation of charge. The top of the cloud becomes one massive positive terminal, and the bottom of the cloud becomes an equally massive negative terminal. And just like that, you are no longer looking at a cloud. You are looking at a gigantic floating battery in the sky. A battery holding an unimaginable amount of potential energy, just waiting desperately for a way to discharge. It needs to connect to something with an opposite charge to release that tension. And the closest, most convenient target is the positively charged ground right beneath it. It's an incredible process, isn't it? A beautiful, chaotic dance of ice and wind that creates one of nature's most powerful weapons. This is the kind of behind-the-scenes science we love to deconstruct at Y-Zone 360. Now that our battery is fully charged, things are about to get really interesting. In our next chapter, we'll connect the wires and see exactly why flipping the on switch on this cloud battery results in a flash of light 5 times hotter than the sun. Alright, our giant cloud battery is fully charged and hanging in the sky, holding millions of volts of raw, untamed electrical energy. It is desperately looking for a way to connect to the positively charged ground below. Now we get to the main event. What happens when it finally finds a path? Why does it create a flash of light so bright it turns night into day, and a sound so loud it shakes your entire house? Let's start with that mind-blowing fact from the beginning. A bolt of lightning is 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. That sounds like an exaggeration, right? How can something that lasts for a fraction of a second be hotter than a giant burning star? The answer is surprisingly simple, and you've seen a smaller version of it in your own home. Think about electricity. It flows easily through a thick wire. But what happens when you force a lot of electricity through a very, very thin wire, like the filament in an old-fashioned light bulb? The wire heats up and glows. This is called resistance. Now let's scale that up. A lot. A lightning bolt is a massive amount of electricity. We're talking up to 1 billion volts and 30,000 amps being forced through a channel in the air that's only about the width of your thumb. Air is a terrible conductor of electricity. It has extremely high resistance. So when that immense electrical current plows through that tiny channel of air, it creates an insane amount of friction and heat. The air molecules in that path are not just warmed up, they are instantly and violently superheated to a staggering 50,000 degrees Fahrenheit or 30,000 Celsius. This intense heat causes the air in that channel to explode into a state of matter you don't see everyday plasma. That brilliant, blinding flash of light you see is not electricity. It is the light being emitted from the superheated tube of plasma. You are literally watching a tiny temporary piece of a star being created right here on Earth. But the show isn't over. That incredible heat creates another equally famous effect, thunder. Before we explain, let's see what you think. What did you think thunder was when you were a kid? Angels, bowling, giants, moving furniture. Drop your funny childhood theories in the comments. Here's the real science, and it's even cooler. When you heat a gas, it expands. When you heat a gas to 50,000 degrees in a fraction of a second, it expands explosively. The air in and around that plasma channel expands outwards faster than the speed of sound. This creates a sonic boom, a powerful shock wave that ripples through the atmosphere. The thunder you hear is not the sound of lightning, it is the sound of the air itself exploding. The reason thunder rumbles for a long time is because the lightning channel is miles long. You are hearing the sound from different parts of that explosion at slightly different times. The sound from the part of the bolt closest to you arrives first, and the sound from the part farthest away arrives last. This creates the long, drawn-out rumbling effect. It's the echo of a single massive explosion stretched out over time. So the lightning bolt is the flash of an atmospheric bomb, and the thunder is the sound of its detonation. A single unified event of incredible power. So we've uncovered the secret behind the heat and the sound, a tiny star and a giant explosion. But we've still only answered half the mystery. We know what happens when the connection is made, but how is that connection made in the first place? And why is the popular image of a bolt coming down from the sky completely wrong? In our next chapter, we'll reveal the bizarre two-way street of a lightning strike. Okay, this next part is going to completely flip your understanding of lightning. I want you to picture a lightning strike in your head right now. What do you see? A brilliant, jagged bolt coming down from a dark cloud and hitting the ground, right? We've seen it 1,000 times in movies and pictures, even with our own eyes. It seems like the most obvious fact in the world. Well, get ready to have your mind blown. Because what you are seeing is an optical illusion. The main bright flash of lightning that we all recognize actually travels up from the ground it to the cloud, not the other way around. I know it sounds insane, it sounds impossible, but it's true. Let me show you the two-step process that makes this bizarre event happen. It's like a secret handshake between the sky and the ground. Step 1. The invisible scout, the stepped leader. Remember our giant cloud battery? The bottom of the cloud is packed with a massive negative charge and is desperately trying to connect with the positively charged ground. But air is a great insulator. It's hard for electricity to travel through, so the cloud can't just send one giant bolt down. It has to feel its way through. It does this by sending down a faint invisible path of negative charge called a stepped leader. It moves in short, jagged bursts about 50 meters at a time, then pauses for a microsecond to look for the easiest path forward, then jumps again. This is why lightning has its classic zigzag shape. This invisible scout is happening all around you during a thunderstorm, even if no lightning strikes. It's a bit creepy, right? What other invisible forces of nature do you find fascinating? Gravity magnetism? Let us know in the comments. Step 2, the welcoming party and the main event, the return stroke. As the invisible stepped leader gets close to the ground, say about the height of a skyscraper, the immense negative charge at its tip has a powerful effect on the ground below. It repels the negative charges, electrons on the surface, pushing them away, and strongly attracts the positive charges. This positive charge starts to gather on the tips of tall objects, trees, church steeples, lightning rods, and yes, even people standing in an open field. These objects then begin to send up their own small faint sparks of positive charge, reaching up to meet the descending leader. These are called positive streamers. It's like the ground is sending up a welcoming party. The air is now filled with a descending negative path and multiple ascending positive paths. The race is on, and then connection. When one of these streamers finally connects with the stepped leader, the circuit is complete. A perfect conductive pathway has been created between the cloud and the ground. And bam, this is the main event. A massive explosive surge of electrical current, the return stroke, flashes from the ground to the cloud along this pre-made highway. This return stroke is what carries the billion volts and thousands of amps. It is the brilliant blinding flash that we all call lightning. The reason we see it as a single flash is because it happens in microseconds, far too fast for our eyes to process the two separate steps. So the very direction of the danger we see is a lie. This isn't just a cool science fact, it's a critical piece of understanding for what comes next. Because if the ground itself is an active participant in the strike, it changes everything about how and why lightning is so deadly. And in our next chapter, we'll deconstruct the sneaky, indirect ways this incredible force can actually get you. Okay, so we've built our cloud battery, we've witnessed the insane heat, and we've learned that lightning actually shoots up from the ground. Mind-blowing stuff. But now we get to the most important question of all. How does this incredible force actually become deadly? When you think of lightning danger, you probably picture this, a direct hit, the classic cartoonish billion-to-one shot. And yes, if this happens, your chances are pretty much zero. But here's the shocking truth that changes everything about lightning safety. Direct hits are incredibly rare. They account for less than 5% of all lightning-related injuries and fatalities. So if that's not the main danger, what is? The vast majority of people are harmed by lightning in sneaky, indirect ways that are far more common and in some ways far scarier. Let's meet the real killers. Real killer 1, the side flash. This is the ultimate betrayal by your shelter. Imagine a thunderstorm is rolling in. What's the first thing you do if you're outside? You run for cover under the nearest tall object, right? A big, beautiful oak tree, a picnic shelter, a flagpole. It seems like a smart, logical move, but you have just put yourself in the middle of a deadly electrical trap. When lightning decides to strike that tree, its massive electrical current needs to get to the ground. It travels down the trunk. But remember, your body is about 70% salt water. You are an excellent conductor of electricity, far better than a tree trunk. So as the lightning travels down the tree, it sees you standing nearby and makes a split-second decision. It jumps sideways from the tree through the air and uses your body as a more efficient shortcut to the ground. This is a side flash you beat. You weren't the target, but you were in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is the single biggest reason why the #1 rule of lightning safety is never ever take shelter under a tree. It's not a shield, it's a lightning magnet that can share its bad luck with you. Real killer 2, the ground current. Okay, this one is the sneakiest, the most widespread and the #1 cause of lightning casualties in the world. It can get you even if you're hundreds of feet away from where the lightning actually strikes. Here's how it works. When a bolt of lightning hits the ground, that billion volts of electricity doesn't just disappear into a hole. It has to spread out. It travels across the surface of the ground in all directions, like the ripples from a stone thrown into a pond. This is the ground current. Now imagine you're standing in that ripple zone. If your feet are together, you're probably okay. But most people stand with their feet apart. This creates a problem. Your left foot is in a part of the ripple with a slightly different voltage than your right foot. Your body, the excellent conductor that it is, becomes a bridge. The electricity enters through one leg, travels up through your core, past your heart and nervous system, and exits through the other leg to complete the circuit. This is the silent killer. You didn't see the flash nearby. You might not have even heard the thunder that loud. But you were standing in the wrong way on ground that had just become electrified. Knowing this changes everything. It means that lightning safety isn't about avoiding a direct hit from above. It's about avoiding being a shortcut or a bridge for the electricity on the ground. So with this new terrifying knowledge, how do we build a real science-based survival plan? In our final chapter, we'll bust the most common safety myths and give you the ultimate blueprint for what to do when the sky starts to flash. How do you actually survive it? This isn't about luck, it's about physics. And by understanding the physics, you can build a simple, effective survival plan. We're going to break this down into the 3 most common scenarios you might find yourself in. Scenario 1, you're caught outdoors. The worst case scenario. This is the most dangerous situation to be in, so listen up. Your #1 priority is to make yourself the least attractive target for electricity. And to do that, you have to forget 2 famous but fatally wrong myths. First, let's bust the biggest myth hiding under a tree. It seems so logical, right? It's shelter from the rain, but as we learned in the last chapter, this turns you into a prime candidate for a side flash. Stay away from all tall, isolated objects. Second, let's bust the lie flat myth. Some people think that lying flat on the ground makes you a smaller target. This is a terrible idea. Why ground current? Remember those deadly ripples of electricity spreading out from a strike? When you lie flat, you are maximizing the amount of your body that is in contact with that electrified ground. You are essentially turning your entire body into a giant bridge for the current to flow through. So if you can't stand under a tree and you can't lie down, what do? You do the lightning crouch. Find the lowest possible spot away from trees and tall objects. Crouch down like a baseball catcher. Get on the balls of your feet with your heels touching. Put your hands over your ears and your head between your knees. Why does this work? By keeping your feet together, you minimize the voltage difference between them, making it less likely for the ground current to use your body as a circuit. It's not a perfect solution, but it's the single best thing you can do to increase your odds in a worst-case scenario. What's the scariest storm you've ever been caught in? Share your story in the comments. Scenario 2, you're inside a car. You're driving and a thunderstorm hits. You pull over. You feel safe, right? You're surrounded by rubber tires. Well, here comes another myth bust. It's not the rubber tires that save you. A lightning bolt has just traveled for miles through air, which is a fantastic insulator. A few inches of rubber is absolutely nothing to it. So why are you safe in a car? The answer is one of the coolest concepts in physics, the Faraday cage. A car is basically a metal box. When lightning hits it, the electricity flows around the outside of the metal shell and safely into the ground. The inside of the car remains an electricity-free zone. 2. Pull over and turn everything off. 3. Keep your hands in your lap. Do not touch the radio, the door handle, the gear shift, or any metal part of the car. You want to stay completely isolated inside your metal cocoon. Scenario 3. You're indoors. The ultimate fortress. Okay, you've made it inside. This is by far the safest place to be. But you're not 100% risk-free. Lightning can still get you inside your house, just not in the way you think. It's not going to crash through your roof. It's going to travel through the wires and pipes. Think of your house as a giant spider web of conductors, electrical wiring, plumbing pipes, and phone lines. If lightning strikes your house or even nearby, it can send a massive surge of electricity through this entire network. So the Indoor Survival Guide is a simple list of things not to do. Don't take a shower or wash dishes. Lightning can travel through plumbing. Don't use a corded phone. The phone line is a direct wire to the outside. Cell phones are generally safe. Don't use computers, TVs, or anything plugged into the wall. A power surge from a lightning strike can travel through the cord and into you. So let's recap the ultimate blueprint. Outdoors, crouch. In a car, become a statue. Indoors, unplug. But if you only remember one thing from this entire video, let it be this. The simplest, most effective, most unbreakable rule of lightning safety ever created. A rule so simple a child can remember it. When thunder roars, go indoors. It's that easy. All the complex science, all the terrifying physics, all the survival techniques, they all boil down to that one simple action. Understanding why the tree is a trap, why the car is a cage, and why the ground is a current. That is the knowledge that transforms your fear into intelligent, life-saving decisions. And that is the ultimate power.